Your Honor, there are several reasons this evidence should be admitted as the circumstances around the fire show. One, exigent circumstances. This fire scene would have still been under fire control at the time of entry had it not been for an emergency life-saving call, thus forcing companies to leave the scene unsecured. Two, the unsecured scene. As a member of the fire department, I needed to ensure the fire scene was secure and there was no possibility of restarting the fire as companies were called away before securing the scene. Three, also, if the commanding officer did not get called away, the evidence that was present in the home showing signs of possible arson, he would have had the time to transfer this information to the investigators and a criminal investigation would have begun immediately. 4. Christian Reed Smith v. State. See Tyler 436 U.S. at 510 and 6. The Supreme Court predicated in some circumstances it may be necessary for officials pursuing their duty both to extinguish the fire and to ascertain its origin to remain on the scene for an extended period of time, repeatedly entering or re-entering the building or buildings. Thus, Tyler admonished that appropriate recognition must be given to the exigencies that confront officials serving under these conditions to the public safety as well as to individuals' reasonable expectations of privacy. Bennett, P. 13. Here are the exigencies of another emergency call for life-saving efforts forced early departure from the fire scene, then the fire scene was left unsecured. Had this emergency not occurred, fire personnel would have still been on scene and had control of the residence. The evidence collected would have then been collected legally, and thus, using exigent circumstances that occurred, this evidence should be legally allowed. 5. Rhode Island's law. We'll see how many states and jurisdictions we can locate. RIGL 23-37-1. Police authority of fire company officers at fire. Right of entry. The fire chief, chief engineer, assistant engineer, captain, lieutenant, or any other executive officer of any organization organized or created for the purpose of extinguishment of fires and preventing fire hazards in response to an alarm for such a fire call, in the absence of the chief of police, have the power to suppress any tumult or disorder and to command from the inhabitants of the city or town all needful assistance for the suppression of fires and in the preservation of property. The officers above enumerated shall also have authority to go on to and enter any property or premises and to do whatever may be reasonably necessary in the performance of their duties while engaged in the work of extinguishing any fire or performing any duties incidental thereto. 6. This investigation took place within a rational amount of time of the fire's occurrence. The investigator must be given an amount of time considered reasonable to conduct a thorough investigation at all fire scenes. The fire itself is an exigent circumstance which allows for entry to extinguish and allow investigators to remain for a reasonable amount of time to investigate the cause of the fire. This chart here, which was submitted in the court filing, you also have a copy of it. Shows that accelerants and incendiary devices are the two top causes of fires. This chart shows us that in a survey of incendiary devices, incendiary fires, 28% use accelerant or incendiary devices. Both of these circumstances were present at our fire scene. Other evidence showing arson. Key clues found at the scene. 1. Multiple points of origin. 2. Use of accelerants. 3. Incendiary devices. 4. Unnatural burn patterns. 5. Altered fire scenes. 6. Destruction of evidence. Your Honor, I believe we have shown this court the legal and ethical reasons to support the allowance of evidence to be submitted. We have shown 1. Exigent circumstances for the investigators to enter the home. The proper transfer of information between suppression and investigators was interrupted by life-saving emergency, thus hindering the process and creating an exigent circumstance. 2. That investigation took place in a rational amount of time after the occurrence of the fire. 3. We have proved the scene had not been secured or released by the commanding officer at the time the arson investigation began and the investigators entered the home. 4. We showed sufficient evidence to believe that this fire had all the elements of arson. And 5. The residence was not available for consent and did not instruct anyone that the investigation into the fire could not occur. Thank you.